Hello! Welcome to Body Empowerment. I have with us today Ynanna. Welcome.
Thank you. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm very excited to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. Can you tell everyone who you are?
My name is Ynanna Djehuty, but most people know me as Ynanna these days. I've known Caroline for 5 years almost. We met through poetry, which is what I did in college, in addition to studying Black Studies and television radio productions. And now I'm a doula, going to be studying to be a midwife soon.
So you have a wealth of information in your heart, in your soul, at your fingertips, in your body. Your experiences, what you do, your crafts, your skills. But today we were going to talk about generational trauma and how that affects the body. Can you talk about what generational trauma is and what your expertise is on the subject?
Well, generational trauma is all the pain and suffering and anything that our mothers and our community were feeling, how that gets passed through to the next generation through birth and through just the simple argument that we have about nature versus nurture, where it's actually nature and nurture. And so this generational trauma gets passed on through violent events that are worldwide, such as 9/11, and how there were a lot of women that did go into preterm labor.
Wow.
Just based on this trauma. Imagine all that fear going into a baby's body. Generational trauma has become really important to me through my work in therapy and poetry, where I've been trying to search through why is it that I have mental health issues? Why do my friends have these issues? And then I started to realize, okay, so people in my family have these issues. Their parents have these issues. I started to trace that line.
How does one overcome generational trauma? How do we overcome generational trauma?
I think on a personal level, I can speak to a personal level through one, therapy as a tool, but gaining tools to start to dissect, what is this that I'm dealing with? So one step that I've taken and that I've seen other friends take, which is one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you specifically about this subject, is use your work, whatever your work is, be it writing, painting, building cars, whatever is your form of expression, using that as a vehicle to explore that trauma.
Okay.
So then the next step after that is, what am I learning from this expression?
Okay.
Let me look at my writing, let me look at my poetry, let me look at my books, let me look at this painting, and actually do the self-reflection piece.
Word.
And then once you see that your writing and stuff is a broken record, then it's all right, let me play this to someone else. Let me call a friend that I know is grounded and I know has their head on straight, or at least has some kind of foresight.
Yeah.
Or even a therapist or a spiritual counselor, someone that can do some deep listening. Another step to be able to release trauma is to literally, physically get it out of your body, because it gets stuck in our muscles. And that's why when you get triggered, when you see something that reminds you of that trauma, you freeze, because your body is already wired to do that. Even if you see the person that looks like someone that did something to you, or there's some people that can't even see the replay of any tragic accident that's happened in the world. Immediately your body still remembers, because you can do all these things to your mind to try to forget it, but you have to release it through your body. So learning tools is really the big thing, and having compassion for yourself, because the thing about generational trauma as a collective, this is coming from the individual to collective, is that as you're healing, there's an entire world still going through this trauma and replaying it. Stopping the chain, or coming to, is like a hurricane. A hurricane will whip through a town, mess everything up. It's not until after the hurricane is done that you can go and assess the damage. We're not going to go outside. So while all this trauma is going hayward on our life, there's no way that you can have clarity until the storm stops. But after the storm, it's just the beginning.
Yeah.
You have to assess the damages, figure out how much it's going to cost, what do you have to do. So breaking the chain and breaking the cycle of generational trauma is very much like that, only that you're probably one of the first people in that chain to want to do that. It's an awakening, especially as I'm realizing we just had the International Day against Violence Against Women.
Yeah.
You think about women in this world and how more women are setting limits about what is not acceptable from patriarchal ideology system. That that passiveness and voicelessness that women have inherited
Yeah.
has been passed on from mother to mother.
Yes.
So, like, what happens when you start to find your voice and you start to say no? You make mountains move because nobody's expecting, oh snap,
Nope.
a change just ended.
Right.
So generational trauma is going to be to break as a collective just as abrupt,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's like we can't move forward anymore. We have to find another way because this is not going to work anymore.
You talked about physically releasing trauma. What does that look like that is healthy and not self-destructive?
Finding a space to like yell
Okay.
and scream.
Okay.
Where like you feel comfortable to be that loud.
Yeah.
If not, screaming into a pillow works.
Okay.
Putting a bunch of piles of pillows on your bed and punching into them. If you could find somewhere to stomp.
Uh-huh.
Dancing.
Yeah.
Going out dancing, like intentionally going out dancing, kickboxing,
Uh-huh.
going to just boxing,
Uh-huh.
running.
Uh-huh.
Like anything that moves you to, not even to the past the point of exertion, because we don't want you to hurt yourself.
Right.
But anything that you're like taking as a sacred time of, I'm going to use this as a release. So
Cool.
a healthy way, like I know most people would rather punch a wall. Okay, if you're the punching type, punch the pillows.
Okay.
You know, because like it's misdirected anger
Yes.
and frustration that's
Yes.
the problem. But anger is a catalyst to move something out of you
Uh-huh.
or to uncover that. I operate on the belief that everyone is born whole and complete, which is the opposite of what we're told, that you're born imperfect and original sin and all this other craziness. We are born whole and complete and perfect, and you still have that place to operate from. It's that something happens to us along the way. And if we operate from a place that there's a wholeness that I can get back to instead
Yes.
of a wholeness that we need to create,
Yes.
you have more of an agency for yourself.
Uh-huh.
You know, and that although we cannot change our parents or we cannot change what happened before we got here, just the knowledge of knowing what happened before you got here and what happened to you when you got here, and owning your history, not taking responsibility for it, but being responsible to it. You're not responsible for the fact that so-and-so hit you and abused you. That, like, you didn't have any agency there. Of course it's not your fault, but you are responsible to what happens after that.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well said. I'm like, in my head, I'm like snapping, and now I can snap. I didn't want to interrupt you, but like, cheers, hallelujah, a woman, right? Have you ever done an a woman? A woman.
A woman.
Instead of amen, a woman. Thank you so much for being here. I love you, and I love having you here, and I love what you share and what you stand for. So I imagine everyone out there is loving this as well. Where can they find you?
Okay, well, you can find me on Facebook under Ynanna Djehuty. You can also find me on my website, thesewatersrundeep.com, and check out all my birth work and essays. I'm also on YouTube under the same name. You can find me on Facebook.
And Twitter?
Twitter is Ynanna Rising.
Awesome. All these will be like below.
Okay.
Like it'll
It'll be
already have
scrolling?
happened. It'll have already scrolled. We'll be here in real time. It'll already have scrolled. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you all on our next episode, April 1st. Please subscribe to my channel, keep watching, and share this video and other episodes with people you know that need to hear this, right? Like, I say that all the time, but like, really, we need to share this information with each other. So thank you for being the gift that you are. I love you dearly.